Salam keluarga Malaysia and good morning on the first day of the Khazanah Megatrends Forum 2021. In 2020 and 2021, the COVID-19 pandemic has evolved into a health, socio-economic and humanitarian crisis of unprecedented scale and impact. As a country, we have faced all sorts of challenges to our public health system, to our livelihoods, to our economy, and to our overall national resilience. From an economic standpoint, the pandemic is turning into an economic knockout blow. The economy is plunging with intensifying negative impact on jobs, incomes, and livelihoods. The pandemic has disrupted supply chains and upended businesses, thereby causing poverty and hardships, especially among the most vulnerable. For instance, as I mentioned recently, about 20% of the middle income group, or a total of 580,000 households, have slipped into the bottom 40% or B40 income bracket. What I learned as head of the National Security Council is that the situation has been nothing less than a war against a highly efficient and totally committed enemy. But this is an enemy like no other. The virus has no politics, no prejudices, no insecurities, and no emotions. It has only one purpose, and it is absolutely dedicated to that purpose, its own reproduction. In the situation as we now face, it has never been more critical for us to be united as a nation, in purpose, in action, in trust, and in mutual respect. The economy and businesses were badly affected by the virus. Naturally, we implemented the measures necessary to try to control it. In this unprecedented situation, we have been facing the impossible choice between reducing infection rates and limiting the harm to the economy. We have been unafraid of taking bold and difficult decisions by putting in place meaningful SOPs, movement control measures, self-isolation, mandatory quarantine, and so on. Currently, the government is constantly reviewing from time to time the measures we have implemented based on the country's current pandemic situation. The pandemic has brought a new perspective in defining the essential workers. Though the term has traditionally been limited to refer to doctors, nurses, and medical staff who work beyond their limits in treating patients affected by the COVID-19, it has now been extended to include those who work in keeping the country functioning. This would include supermarket workers, cleaners, and delivery drivers, to name a few. My deepest appreciation and gratitude to these unsung heroes. But as more and more countries are starting to realize the world will move from dealing with the virus as pandemic to living with it and managing it as an endemic reality. We are now refusing to allow this virus to dominate and disrupt our lives and society. To do this, we must be prepared to accept that we can no longer return to the carefree normality of the past. Instead, we must define for ourselves what the working conditions in living in an endemic scenario should be. We will implement policies that will encourage the attitudes and behaviors which will be necessary in this scenario. Malaysians will have clear SOPs, will be trusted to exercise responsibility, and in return will enjoy a resumption of social and economic activities along a clear path defined by a meaningful government strategy. Dearest keluarga Malaysia, ladies and gentlemen, this pandemic has diverted our attention away from other critical issues. The climate change crisis and inequality are still there. They have not gone away. The effects of climate change has been more apparent than ever in the last year. Similarly, the pandemic has highlighted the stark reality of inequality, with many people starving whilst others were merely inconvenienced. We will also have to face the messy realities of geopolitical uncertainties and various ongoing violent conflicts around the world that before this have been eclipsed by the pandemic. Around the world, we have been witnessing cataclysmic wildfires beyond our worst nightmares. There were catastrophic floods in many places. There were devastating droughts in others. The spectrum of disruptions and imbalance is as clear as the difference between night and day. Malaysia is not immune from this climate-related roller coaster ride. Dearest keluarga Malaysia, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for a new narrative. All weaknesses have been brutally exposed. In the current situation, whether we like it or not, we have to live with this reality. Climate change, disruption, chaos, and catastrophe will always haunt us. Addressing such issues effectively requires a world with unified purpose and resolve. Can Malaysia be any different? In this country, we are blessed with diversity as the very fabric of our existence. We have the opportunity to truly demonstrate the power of unity in purpose, unity in integrity, unity in national pride, whilst celebrating our tapestry of diversity in race, religion, culture, and so on. Political differences and opinions about approaches should not mean that our intent should be different. Our intent must be that all Malaysians shall strive to prosperity, economic security, equal opportunity, education, healthcare, safety, social justice, mutual respect. It is a country of kindness, compassion, peace, happiness, despite our differences. While working to form the United Nations after World War II, Winston Churchill said, "Never waste a good crisis." As I've mentioned, the COVID-19 crisis has been hard on all of us. And this crisis gives us an opportunity that we must seize together. It gives us the opportunity to come together and stay focused on defining Malaysia's shared future. This is, in my view, the bedrock philosophy behind Keluarga Malaysia. Dearest Keluarga Malaysia, ladies and gentlemen, we must take an all-of-Malaysia approach as one family, the family we know as keluarga Malaysia. In this situation we face now, our most urgent needs must be fully aligned. It should not be of political competition, but must be one of the national unity and cooperation. Whatever our differences, we are one family. A crisis should bring a family closer together. This is an inclusive government. All opinions will be taken into account before the decisions are finalized. I am proud to be Malaysian, proud of our gentle and kind nature. We have the capacity for kindness, generosity, courtesy, respect, unity. Let us build on that. I'm calling for a new narrative, one that goes beyond personalities, beyond old affiliations, beyond embedded identities, and most important of all, beyond conflicting loyalties. As Malaysians, we must have unity of intent and of mutual respect. We can have differences of opinion on how we want to get to where we want to be. Our economic theories, our policies, and so on. But we must be united in our intent. We must trust that we are all together in this. This is what we must do to build a better tomorrow. Dearest keluarga Malaysia, ladies and gentlemen, earlier I outlined how the RMK 12, the 12th Malaysia Plan, will steer our nation forward to a better tomorrow. The 12th Malaysia Plan has as its objective a prosperous, inclusive, sustainable Malaysia. It will address the development disparity between states and the income gaps between socio-economic groups. In the name of Keluarga Malaysia, we will ensure that basic needs such as water, electricity, and internet connections are met for all Malaysians. The government will uphold the principle of leaving no one behind in our quest to become a fully developed nation, a nation that will benefit all Malaysians. The 12th Malaysia Plan is anchored on three key themes, focusing on resetting the economy, strengthening security, well-being and inclusivity, and advancing sustainability. The game changers introduced under the themes and policy enablers are in parallel with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It is within this context that the plan strives to bring about sustainable economic recovery as well as to provide better social protection to vulnerable segments of society in ensuring Malaysians achieve higher standards of living. In addition, Malaysia's 2022 budget will soon be presented by our Finance Minister, Tengku Zafrul Aziz. It will address all immediate fiscal issues with great urgency. And this year, for the first time, we have also released a pre-budget statement to outline our intention for the budget. We have also distributed 5 public consultation papers on a variety of structural reform issues. Underlying all these policies defined by the government, the National Recovery Council will play an active role in restoring our nation's economic health and prosperity. We will take a broad and inclusive societal approach for the greater good of Malaysia, drawing up a strategy and its various tactics that will take us out of the pandemic into a safe and sustainable plan in living with an endemic COVID-19 scenario. I have outlined various strategies and plans which we are actively implementing. It is through the various policies and initiatives I have outlined that we choose to actively define our future. Dearest keluarga Malaysia, ladies and gentlemen, and so I turn to this event, the Khazanah Megatrends Forum of 2021. Over the years, Khazanah has shown extraordinary thought leadership in exploring and discussing the key megatrends impacting Malaysia and the world in general. Through this annual forum, KMF has brought to Malaysia many global luminaries and thought leaders and has become one of the most insightful and valuable events in KL's corporate calendar. This year is no exception. As the MD of Khazanah, Datuk Amirul Faisal Zahir has already demonstrated in his discussion of the program. This year's theme, the invention of tomorrow, could not be more pertinent and urgent. I congratulate the Khazanah team for assembling yet another fascinating KMF and another group of extraordinary speakers. I wish you the best of luck for another successful KMF, inshallah. I hope that all assembled here will gain much knowledge and insight from this year's forum. But more importantly is that we will be able to apply what we learned in whatever positions and responsibility that we now hold. Together, may we help create a better tomorrow for our beloved Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you, Ya Amat Berhormat.